It's time for Wise Money with Korhorn Financial Group with certified financial planners Kevin Korhorn, Mike Bernard, and Josh Gregory.
Welcome to another episode of the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group, where every week we're helping you take your next wise step in your financial life. Thanks for being here, friends. My name is Mike Bernard. I'm your host. I'm also one of the certified financial planners on the program. With me in the KFG studios, my business partners and fellow CFPs, Kevin Korhorn and Josh Gregory.
New in 2025 is a confusing new rule regarding catch-up contributions to 401ks, 403bs, and simple IRAs. This confusion will cause many people to not take advantage of this great benefit. So we're going to share how this new rule works and how it impacts your financial plan. We're going to provide clarification so that you can use it to your advantage. All of that and more on this hour of the Wise Money Show.
Not at 100%. Each of us, I think all of us, we're just skating shorthanded here. A little under the weather.
Day, actually.
Yeah, a little under the weather.
Three guys on the ice.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah, we are. But we're happy to be with you, and we're going to set the record straight on this confusing rule and how it's a financial planning issue. This isn't just a confusing, frustrated. Josh, did you say the word stupid? Tax rule. It's a financial planning opportunity. We're going to help you with that right now. If you have a question for the program or need any help, we're here for you. Call or text us 574-222-2000. That's 574-222-2000 online. WiseMoneyShow.com is where you can find us. Then all over social media, wherever you're at, we are there as well. Search The Wise Money Show. One plan. It's not really what we call it, but it's what we call it. There's 6 areas to your financial life, and oftentimes those 6 areas potentially could be treated as separate and distinct, maybe even have competing agendas. Society, culture doesn't help you. They sort of feed into this because you've got your bank over here and your mortgage. That's totally separate. You've maybe got, a gecko helping you with some insurance stuff, and that's separate too. Do your taxes over here or do them online or whatever, and that's separate. I just want to check the box, get that done. My investments are over here. I've got an attorney. It's all separate. But it's not, guys. Like, that's the lie. Mm-hmm. That all needs to be together, and you need to be operating where there's synergy in order to make great decisions so that as you make a decision, you're aware of how it's going to impact all 6 of those areas, and you kind of throw off the good decisions or the okay decisions and go with the great ones that bring synergy.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of, not to pick on the medical field, but the medical field is populated with a whole bunch of specialists. Right? People who have studied to become doctors and then they got real narrow in a niche and they are experts in that area. But the problem is if those experts are not communicating about a body that is very integrated and it is one unit with lots of different systems and everything that all affect each other. And you can sometimes miss some things in your healthcare because of that. And the same analogy plays true in your financial life as well, because if you have a series of just specialists in your life and they're not talking to each other, that is where the opportunities get missed. It's every week we hear stories of people coming to our firm for the first time and telling us about their experience in the past. And unfortunately, it often, as the conversation unfolds, you realize, man, there were some mistakes made or some opportunities missed just simply because the plan wasn't integrated together. Communication wasn't happening between the specialists.
Right. And as we're talking about the medical field, the issue is with these specialists, if you think you need a specialist, you don't get to go see the specialist. You have to go see this other person who is the gatekeeper to the specialist. So when I think about that and healthcare, I think a lot of times it can be about access and about an ease of doing business. It's challenging because when you talk to people about their financial lives and you say, well, when's the last time your tax preparer, who isn't a tax planner but a tax preparer, when's the last time your tax preparer talked to the person who's doing your investment planning? Well, that doesn't happen. Or the insurance professional who's helping you manage risk. And people live very disintegrated financial lives.
That's right.
Yeah. And medical lives, to be honest.
Yeah.
But your financial life does need to be connected. Your health planning and all that sort of stuff does as well. And it's certainly true with the topic we're going to tackle today. There's, over the past few years, going, before COVID with the Secure Act, but then through COVID, been enough tax laws to choke a horse.
Yeah.
I mean, it's enough.
Constant change.
Constant change. It's enough. And I'm assuming you could say, and this is why we're really magnifying this, is you could say, good riddance. This is too confusing. No one can make sense of this. And honestly, I don't blame you. There's a lot of CPAs that have said the same thing. There is a national, like it's a walkout going on right now nationally for accountants and CPAs because they're the ones left sort of in between you who are frustrated by these tax law changes and Congress who's just making it up.
Yep.
And so here's the deal. I'm going to help you understand this big change that's occurring this year with catch-up contributions, but then look at it from a perspective, a lens of comprehensive financial planning, and how does it impact all 6 areas of your financial life. So let's start, guys. This impacts retirement plan contributions. Does not impact the IRA or the Roth IRA or the HSA. This is 401k, 403b. What are the contribution limits for this year, 2025? And what's the catch-up contribution for those? And then we'll explain the new rule.
Yeah, I think you need to kind of level the playing field and just say, okay, what are the rules that apply to anyone who's a participant in a retirement plan through work? And we'll talk about the 401k because that's the most common and becoming more and more common as time goes on. But this year, 2025, the contribution limits have increased to $23,500 for anybody. But if you are over age 50, you're allowed to contribute an extra $7,500 as well. And when we look at traditional IRAs that you do not through an employer but on your own, those numbers really are unchanged. $7,000 is your contribution limit and $1,000 as a catch-up contribution if you're over age 50. Yep. But we're introducing now new ages, new thresholds, and new rules.
Before we go there, though, just some common frequently asked questions with catch-up contributions. So just restating that, those normal catch-up those normal contribution limits, $23,500 for anyone. In the year you turn age 50 and above, you now get to do a catch-up contribution. And so one frequently asked question is, I'm not yet 50, but I turn 50 in May. Do I have to do that catch-up contribution starting in May? No. It starts the year you turn age 50. You can make that contribution. Another frequently asked question, thanks to all these tax laws, is does that catch-up contribution have to be Roth? Not yet is the answer. It was supposed to, that law change was supposed to occur in 2024, that if you made more than $135,000 with your employer last year, then your catch-up contribution would be forced to be Roth. Well, they punted that thing. It's going to start not this year. It's supposed to start next year. So you need to be aware of your income for this year. But your catch-up contribution, age 50 and older, that can be pre-tax, that can be Roth, that can be, split 50-50. So.
That's right. And, you might be thinking, well, how do I know if that really is appropriate for me? Do I take advantage of this? Obviously, you have to have the cash flow in order to be able to contribute these larger dollar amounts. And there may be things changing in your financial life that make it suddenly available to you. And we'll talk about that more later on in the show. But keep in mind that just because you maybe forego 1 year the catch-up contribution doesn't mean that it's not a good idea the next year. So we encourage you to be thinking about this every single year.
That's right. All right, now here's the twist, okay? And we've shared this a few times, and we're going to keep sharing it because it is confusing. Like Kevin said, people are going to miss out on this simply because they don't understand. Now, starting in 2025, there's a super catch-up. There's another catch-up on top of the catch-up. Or that's not really true, but it's a different tier, okay? Mm-hmm. The age 50 catch-up still applies, like we just shared. But new, starting this year, in the year you turn age 60, as well as 61, 62, 63, you can do a bigger catch-up. And I don't even want to explain the actual rule. I'll just tell you, it's $11,250 for this year, okay? So for the year you turn age 60, 61, 62, 63, instead of doing $7,500 as a catch-up, you can do $11,250. Now, the stupid part, Josh, is...
Which we're not supposed to say that word on a family show, I realize. But
yeah, we don't use that word in this house.
It is ridiculous. We can at least call it that. Why are 64-year-olds excluded from this? The year that you turn 64, you don't get to take advantage of the extra contribution. You're right back down to the same level you were at age 50.
Yep. So very, very bizarre that they wouldn't say, all right, from age 60 on, you can contribute this super catch-up. That does not make any sense to me or to you. I think some people might think, okay, now the catch-up contribution goes away. No, at 64, it just reverts back to the old catch-up. So here's a big idea. How's that going to impact your financial plan so that you can take advantage of it? We're sharing that more coming up on the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for being here. This is the Wise Money Show. What you're watching right now is our weekly 1-hour talk show that airs right here on this channel, 10 a.m. Eastern time every Saturday morning, and also on podcast at the same time, also on a couple local radio stations as well, which is why it's structured the way that it is. It is a talk show, long form, and so we're going to get on tangents and all that sort of stuff. But we've got segments and breaks because of the radio show. But if that's too long for you or you're looking for more content directed just for you, we've got Next Wise Step videos that air all throughout the work week right here on this channel as well, taking one financial concept, applying it directly to your financial life from a planning perspective. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications so you're made aware every time we drop new content. If you like the content, thank you very much. All right, so I'm just going to hit a couple of like big picture questions. Feel free to be lengthy. Like, let's have some good dialogue here, and then we'll get in. We'll walk around the wheel, and we'll explain the 6 areas of financial planning, and then explain how this rule impacts each. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds great.
All right, here we go. Hoping to take advantage of the new super catch-up contribution to your 401k or 403b. We're helping you with understanding how it's going to impact your financial life. We're hitting that right now. This is the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. Thanks for being here. My name is Mike Bernard. With me in the KFG studios, Kevin Korhorn and Josh Gregory. Stay up to date on all Wise Money content. Find us online, wisemoneyshow.com. Then all over social media, wherever you're at, we are there as well. Search the Wise Money Show. Just explained the super catch-up. It's super confusing, and we'll explain it again and again. But in the year you turn age 60, 61, 62, 63, your catch-up contribution goes up. $11,250 instead of $7,500. So, guys, before we apply this, just quick take. Is this a big deal?
Well, it is. It's a little bit of an irritant because it's a change. It's not a meaningful enough change to make the effort and energy to do it. But you really have to if you're gonna play the game. You got to play it to win. So if you are 60 to 63, typically, and this isn't true for everybody, but typically what folks are finding is their financial lives have changed, and somewhere in their 50s, as their house cleaned out and the children are no longer living at home, their financial picture has changed, their cash flow has changed, and they're able to do more. And then the question is, well, if I'm able to do more, what should that more be?
Okay, so I'm going to breach confidentiality a little bit, but it's because they raised me and all that. But my folks, I right out of college in a degree in finance and interned here with Kevin and Josh and realized, no kidding, I wanted to be just like them and have them, godly men, influence my life and all of that. And so came to work here. And at that time, my dad was like, hey, your mom and I are going to want to retire soon. Can you take a look? And I looked, and they were doing about 10 grand each to retirement. And this is, dinosaurs were walking there. This is a long time ago. But I remember thinking, okay, that's a lot. And then I said, hey, Dad, why aren't you guys doing the maximum? And he said, I don't really know. And I said, do you think you could max it out without creating a big problem in your finances? And he said, I think so. And at the time, the limit was closer to 16,000, something like that. And so an extra $12,000.
Yeah.
And they just did it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming this because me and my brother were so expensive.
Yeah,
so
right.
Once we were off the payroll,
no more hockey expenses.
yeah,
and all that.
and so they just did it. And yeah, but they needed that prompting. Well, why aren't you? I don't know. Well, can you? I think so now. And they did. And so the last few years, right before they retired, instead of potentially having lifestyle creep, not a creepy lifestyle, but they actually saved more.
But
that maximum.
And that is the benefit to having an external stimulus, a coach, someone else looking at your financial life and giving you guidance and direction and financial wisdom.
Yeah, my mind went exactly to that same point, that when you are in your early 60s, you are reaching a point in your financial life where maybe you have more flexibility than you've ever had before with cash flow. And maybe you really do have some catch up to play. And so every dollar counts. And I'm glad that you pointed out in so many words, Mike, that it's not just you. It might be you and your spouse. If both spouses are working and both have a retirement plan available, maybe it's both plans that could be maxed out. And, you know, an extra $3 or $4 grand for each of them, does that make a huge difference in the grand scheme of things? Maybe, maybe not. But the point is that you're looking at what size buckets do we have available to us, and how do we maximize them in these later years of preparation for retirement?
I would have said it. You guys said it better than me. I would have said yes. Is this really a big deal? It's not like big deal, but yeah, if you're going to play the game, play it to win, and every little bit counts. And so, is this going to be enough to say, okay, well, now I can retire? No, I don't think so. But I actually, extra, call it $16,000, but for each of you, and then add a double or two on top of that. Yeah, that's real money. Makes a difference and all that. So then, second question: do you actually think this will influence behavior? I mean, think about it. If you are financially independent and you're working because you love it and you want to, not because you have to, and you are going to retire at, say, 62, do you look at this and say, well, you know what? I'll just retire at 64. I mean, I can do this extra contribution in 62 and 63. I'll just delay till 64. So that's one angle. And the other is, do you think people also might say, well, I was going to work until 65, but I can't even do this extra catch-up. I'll just retire at 64 when this benefit goes away. Do you think that think it could influence behavior?
I don't think so. I think the influence on behavior would be de minimis.
My mind went to, okay, before this new super catch-up rule came into being, we have had for a number of years the catch-up contribution. At age 50, you can ramp up your savings. How far in advance do people think about that as a future savings limit? Are they doing anything in their 30s and 40s to be able to really take advantage of that in their 50s and 60s? And I think most people, they're just doing what they can do along the way, hopefully doing the amount that their plan requires so that they are on pace and they know that they have high confidence in their future retirement. But I think most people who are taking advantage of a catch-up contribution, they're doing it because they get into their 50s now and they're at that high earning years, launching kids from the nest. They've got some extra flexibility, and they want, by their nature, they are savers and accumulators. And so if you tell them they can save a little bit more into these retirement plans, they take advantage of it. So I don't know how much it's really influencing people, other than take it a year at a time, and if you have it available to you, a lot of people will jump on it. I
wonder if the one that will... I would agree. I bet some people do. It just changes their thinking a little bit, but I don't think it's going to, have a huge impact. I think next year, when the catch-up contributions are forced to be Roth, I think that could make a difference, and we'll do some shows about that, so you're prepared. I don't think it should. I think that like that of all these tax law changes, I think that's the primary one that when I look at it, it's more restrictive versus more options. I mean, as frustrating as this is, the truth is it's giving you more choice. And financial planning is really about choice. Josh, you've said it really well. It's maximizing the choices available to you, the options available to you, and then using comprehensive financial planning to determine which ones are good, but which one is great. Yeah. And so, probably doesn't influence many people's. I wonder about maybe entrepreneurs. I don't know. Yeah.
I think hopefully the impact this has is it gets people thinking about what should I be saving, because if I'm 50 plus, I can save 23.5 plus another 7,500. Now I can put 31 grand in, plus I can do 7,000 into an IRA, plus another 1,000 on top of that. So now I'm putting 8,000 into an IRA. So now I'm at 39,000 in just retirement plan savings, and I think people sometimes will ask me, well, what should I do? And I'm like, I don't know. I haven't tried to outsmart the system. I've just said all along, I just need to figure out a way to max out whatever the government allows me to put into tax shelters along the way. And then the other thing is create some sort of tax diversification. And so, because one of the questions is, if I am doing this, if I am going to ramp up what I'm putting into my savings, when your folks were doing it, Mike, they didn't have a choice to put Roth contributions in, and they do now.
Yeah.
And so, but if you ask me, what's the impact? The impact is on the behind the scenes, the folks that are actually doing the logistics. Because this, when you think of administration of a retirement plan, this is an absolute monstrosity.
But I want to point, though, to some of the stories over the years, because I've watched you throughout your career, the time that I've been together with you, challenge young professionals to do exactly what you just described. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do what I can to maximize the contribution limits every single year. Mm-hmm. And you can't do that day one of your career, most people.
Right.
You're not earning enough. You got to live. You got a lot going on. But how high does your income need to be before that becomes within reach? And if you get it in place and you max it out every single year moving forward beyond that, think about the powerful impact that has on your long-term savings, your long-term options and choices, as you said, Mike.
Yeah, we just had, really quickly, 3 individuals, same job from the same company, a similar age, come in and say, hey, I need help with retirement planning. One of them had been saving diligently into the 401k, was ready. The other 2, not. Mm-hmm. So, all right, more coming up here on the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. All right. I was holding it in.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw. Okay. We're just getting started in our day here in the studio.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're going to walk around the 6 areas. We have 2 seconds to do it. So we're going to explain the 6 areas and then explain what you need to consider.
Did that sound like 2 seconds?
I'm sure it's... Well,
Segments.
we already know, and I proved it last week.
Yeah, it's going to feel like 2 seconds.
There is a disconnect between my brain and what my mouth says. So, okay.
Okay.
Here we go. There's 6 areas to your financial life, and as you're considering financial opportunities to improve, or choices, things that you can go after in your finances, you have to look at all 6 areas. We're going to help you with that right now. This is the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. Thanks for being here. My name is Mike Bernard. With me in the KFG studios, my business partners and fellow CFPs, Kevin Korhorn and Josh Gregory. Every episode of the Wise Money Show is on podcast. Wherever you listen, just search the Wise Money Show. Subscribe to it there. Rate the program there. We appreciate it. And share it as well from podcast form. We appreciate that. I'm talking about the super catch-up contribution. We're all super under the weather, but we're making it. It's working. The big idea here is, there's a big change, okay, but not so big that it's going to move the needle, like, okay, I wasn't on track, but now I am. But here's the big change. It's going to impact almost every area of your financial life. I mean, we can sit here in front of the microphone and say, you should do it. You should do it. You should contribute as much as you possibly can. And yet, you also need to look at, well, how does it bring synergy to the rest of your financial life? Like, does this hold water? So we're going to go around to the 6 areas and both explain what they are, but then tell you, all right, here's how this impacts each. Let's start with the first one.
Yeah, and Mike, in a vacuum, anything makes sense, right? So if you ask me how much should you put in your retirement plan, I'd say as much as you possibly can. What are the limits? Do that. But that might not be the best. That might not even be the best for someone who's 60 years old. Mm-hmm. They might be better off cleaning up their balance sheet so that they can do it when they're 62 and 63. So I would be careful about saying a blanket, hey, everyone should do this. But I pay attention, especially if you're turning 60 this year to 63 this year, because of this opportunity that you have. And it does affect your present financial position. So the first area is present financial position, which is basically cash flow. how does this impact my cash flow, and what is it going to do? Is it going to be a dollar for dollar reduction in my cash flow, or am I going to get some sort of tax benefit as I push this money into the plan and it's less than a dollar? Maybe it only cost me 60 cents to get a dollar invested.
Yeah, you're hinting at the difference between if you're going to do this catch-up contribution, do you make them Roth contributions or do you do traditional? The advantage of the traditional, if you go that route, is as you contribute to the account, it is reducing your tax liability that year. So as you were saying, Kevin, it doesn't cost you a full dollar out of your cash flow in order to get a dollar into the retirement plan that way. But that's not how it works with a Roth IRA. You have to pay your taxes first, and then the money gets invested and it grows tax-free. So there's a bigger cash flow hit to you. But you said something there as you were kind of getting into the present financial position, how some people maybe need to do some cleanup on their balance sheet. Mm-hmm. And this may be something that if you're in your, even if you're in your 50s, you might be wanting to think about, is there some debt in your life that you could be accelerating, wiping out to put yourself in a position where maybe if that car loan is gone by the time you turn age 60, you've got a little extra cash flow and you can actually take advantage of this super catch-up contribution.
Yeah, if you didn't see it, you wouldn't believe it. But I'm going to share you one of the surprising things when you make your financial life tangible. It's not for most of us, right? You've got everything's online, everything's at different institutions, and you never really bring it all together to see it. When you do that, that's a discipline you should be doing on an ongoing basis so that your financial life is decisionable. How much do we have in cash? How much do we have in investments? How much do we have in property? How much do we have in real assets? How much do we have in debt? When you do that and then compare it over time, you can see, oh, look, you contributed a lot to your retirement account. Look at how your retirement assets have grown. But your cash level has dropped significantly as well. Mm-hmm. Or you've actually increased the amount of debt that you have without substantially increasing the assets or the real property. And so in a way, when you can see it from that bird's eye view, you've been, taking money from one source, not your income, and using that to fund retirement. And so, how do you buck that trend? So yes, the first thing that I think of, if you want to take advantage of a catch-up or the super catch-up contribution, you got to look at your cash flow and explore how do you make it work there. Mm-hmm. The second area of your financial life is protection planning. This is managing the 5 major financial risks that we all live with. The risk of passing away with unfunded goals. Mm-hmm. Does life insurance help you there? The risk of needing to work, needing income, but having a disability and not being able to. Mm-hmm. The risk of a big health emergency. So, getting sick or breaking an arm or something much worse, health insurance. The risk of damage to property or causing injury to someone else, home and auto insurance. And then lastly, the risk of you needing someone else to care for you. Mm-hmm. And you might say, no, health insurance covers that. No, it doesn't. And so those are the 5 major financial risks that we all deal with. How does the super catch-up or even just say catch-up contributions, whatever, how could that help you, or do you need to be aware of how it impacts your protection plan?
I was going to say that I think this may serve as motivation. The risks that you face either today or out there in the future could be part of the reason that you want to stuff as much money into these retirement plans as possible. You hinted at long-term risks, maybe in the later years of life. Are you going to be facing some sort of a need for skilled care or custodial care, kind of help when you're a senior? And if that's the case, you may or may not have insurance protection to do it. If you don't, then you have to, at some level, come up with your game plan yourself, or self-insure, as we would say. You accumulate more assets to be able to fund maybe some at-home care when you're 90 years old or whatever. And I would also point to, if you have significant assets that are not in a retirement plan or a tax shelter as we've been describing, there's a chance that a lot of those assets could be accessible to creditors as well. You may be facing, the risk of someone suing you if the wrong car accident happens or the wrong slip and fall on your property, whatever it is. And so, we're always talking about, do you have the right liability protection in place to kind of serve as a moat around the castle? As you're building your financial life, how do you have a good, strong defense against things that would unravel it? Well, the nice thing is the more money you get into your retirement plans, the more that those dollars are shielded or protected from creditors in that way.
Yeah, as we were talking about how there's a kind of an evolution in your financial life from your 50s to your 60s and on. A lot of times when you're in your 50s, what you want to be looking at is, what have I accumulated thus far? And am I now self-insured or closer to self-insured? And by accumulating in a meaningful way assets towards your retirement plan, that lets you be self-insured as far as life insurance goes. Yeah. But there should be some sort of a switch that gets flipped somewhere in your 50s to 60s when you consider, do I still need disability insurance? Because disability insurance protects my ability to earn an income, and it replaces a portion of my income in the event that I'm not allowed to work. So if you think disability, I'm protecting my income, and then long-term care, I'm protecting my assets in the event that I need some sort of long-term care. And if I'm not going to use long-term care insurance as a tool or some other type of tool, then I probably need to accumulate as much as I possibly can so that I can be taken care of later on in my life.
Yeah, so taking advantage of catch-up contributions, ensure the super catch-up. And you might be saying, guys, chill out. It's not that big a deal. I know, but you need to be aware of it. And I would also say, to me, when I think of protection planning and this super catch-up, I think of what's important about age 63. If you are retiring and getting on Medicare at 65, your adjusted gross income, modified adjusted gross income in the year you're 63 has an influence on whether you pay something called an income-related monthly adjustment amount, or IRMA, a surcharge on your Medicare Part B and Part D. And so if you're able to contribute a few more shekels into your retirement plan at 63, that could help you. Guys, I had someone, we've been doing planning and all that sort of stuff, because their interest income was so high last year and he made a little bit more. We've been planning for IRMA. They were less than $1,000 over the threshold. Less than $1,000. And there's no phase in for that. If you're $1 over the threshold, you have to pay IRMA. And not just you, your spouse as well, for all 12 months. Less than $1,000, simply because they got more interest than they were planning on from having a lot in the bank, and he worked a little bit more. So this super catch-up can help you avoid that. What about the other areas of your financial life? What do you need to consider with the super catch-up? We've got that and more coming up on the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group.
So did you crunch the numbers and see what that extra $1,000 of interest cost them in premium?
No, because
That's it.
They would get mad at me.
Well, you don't have to share it with them, but you earn just a little bit too much. Well, and it costs you a couple grand.
No good deed goes unpunished. So there you go. He worked a little bit extra just to give it to the government.
Yeah. All right, fourth segment. We'll pick it up with taxes and run around the rest of the circle here. Thanks for being here. This is the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. My name is Mike Bernard. With me in the KFG studios, my business partners and fellow CFPs, Kevin Korhorn and Josh Gregory. Every episode of the Wise Money Show, as well as a ton of other content, is on the YouTube channel. Go check it out. Not just on YouTube, but on YouTube. And just search the Wise Money Show. Subscribe to it there. Turn on notifications so you're made aware every time we drop new content. This talk show, as well as we've got 8, 10, 12-minute videos that air all throughout the work week, helping you apply financial concepts from a financial planning perspective. So go to YouTube, search the Wise Money Show, and subscribe to it there. Okay, talking about the super catch-up, how it impacts your financial plan. There's 6 areas to your financial life. They need to be connected. You need to make decisions that bring synergy. And while it's not going to turn everything on its axis, you need to be aware of, if you want to take advantage of the super catch-up contribution, well, how's it impact? If you've got the cash flow And okay, great. This gives you an extra tax deduction and helps me grow my net worth. Fantastic. If you're close to that threshold for IRMA and you can contribute a little bit more to reduce your modified adjusted gross income and avoid IRMA, fantastic. Third area of everyone's financial life is tax planning. I would say this probably fits most logically in tax planning. Well, maybe not. I don't know. But tax planning is about looking for opportunities to pay the least amount of tax over your lifetime, if not multiple lifetimes. And I think that's the biggie here is, yes, it's only an extra $4,000 approximately for 4 years. Yeah. If it can improve your tax picture, sign me up.
Well, and this is often the stage in life where a lot of people get more and more serious about not just their tax planning in the current year, but they are looking out to those retirement years. Retirement's starting to feel a lot more real to folks, and they want to be able to forecast, well, what kind of tax picture am I likely to be facing in retirement? Maybe even late into retirement. What kind of required minimum distributions am I going to have? This is all part of the forecasting that your certified financial planner should be doing with you when they're taking a multi-year perspective or approach to tax planning. But when you think about what is likely out in the future, what kind of tax picture you might be facing down the road, it can influence what the right decision is right now. And one of your decisions as you're deciding on contributing extra to your retirement plan, doing this catch-up contribution, is just the question, should I be doing traditional contributions or Roth contributions? Am I better off benefiting from tax savings today, or would those tax savings be more valuable to me down the road? And maybe even, thinking about life rocking the boat a little bit and, throwing you curveballs, whatever metaphor you want to use. What about the tragedy of the loss of one of the spouses in retirement? How does that transform things? All of that can really inform what is the right choice or the best option for you as you're winding down your career, as you have extra cash flow to be able to contribute. Do you do it pre-tax or after tax?
Yep, that's right. Obviously, a lot to consider with tax planning as you're doing your tax projections and all that sort of stuff. Fourth area of your financial life is investment planning. And I think that's the other one where this squarely fits is, well, you're saving more. So how do you invest it? To me, I want to buy as many shares as possible of the world's best enterprises. And yep, the frustrating thing is they go up and down in value every day from 9:30 until 4. And yet still, I want to own them. And if I can, with an additional, $4,000 a year, buy a few more shares, let's go. Let's do it. Making sure that it fits well within your investment strategy. Specifically with the super catch-up. This is coming age 60, 61, 62, 63. That's coming at a time when you might start saying, well, should we start tapping the brakes a little bit on the risk and start slowing down how much volatility we experience? Maybe. Work on building out that personal pension plan, that 3-bucket approach, so that you're, I'm not going to say, completely avoid the volatility, but you temper it and you've got a game plan for it. But here's the thing, your new contributions, I'd want that volatility.
Right.
I'd want those new contributions going into the aggressive side, that long-term side, and so that you can hopefully buy more shares when prices are temporarily depressed.
Yeah, and that's part of what the certified financial planner in your life can help choreograph. As you're getting close to the end of your working career, the early years of retirement, there is, a sensitive 2 to 3 year period of time early in retirement where if we were to experience a major decline in the market at that time, man, it can really not only shake your confidence, but it can also, deal a blow to your overall retirement assets that it takes a while to be able to bounce back if you even allow yourself to bounce back. And so, Mike, you're right to say that a lot of people need to be deciding at what point do we start to set aside the safer money so that we know the early years of retirement are fully funded. It's in cash. I often refer to it as it's just sitting in the pantry. You can go get it whenever you need to, not fluctuating with the market. Well, what is the right amount of cash to be able to do that? And how do you build it? Do you go harvest it out of some investments that have been in growth mode? Do you build it slowly over time by just stockpiling new cash as you go? I'm with you, though. If you're contributing to a retirement plan, contribute to the stuff that is fluctuating in value because you can take advantage of the dips when they occur. And so there are other strategies that your certified financial planner can use to help you get the right amount of cash on the sidelines.
Yeah, the best way to accumulate shares is, whether it's every week, every other week, however often your contributions go into your retirement plan. But then you want volatility, and so. But it's the emotional piece there that as folks are getting to the end and they say, "Hey, I can't handle a reduction in value, a meaningful reduction in value." And you're right, Josh, to kind of separate out the difference between the short-term money, because if I'm just using short-term money that's not fluctuating, the long-term money fluctuating shouldn't have an impact, because the timing of returns it is a huge deal.
Yeah, sequence of returns.
Yeah, the sequence of returns, especially if I'm taking money from the wrong pot at the wrong time.
Yeah.
You're investing for a reason, and you're contributing for a reason. You're aware of these tax consequences or the tax treatment for a reason. And what's that reason? Retirement. Whether it's traditional retirement or whether it's just a little bit unique. We're going to do a show in a couple weeks about, well, listen, if you never plan to stop working, should you even save up? We're going to talk about that, answer that sort of age-old question. But obviously, the super catch-up or contributing the catch-up contribution is going to impact your retirement plan. That's the fifth area of your financial life.
Well, and the whole point is, and the reason that it's referred to as a catch-up contribution is, there have been plenty of stretches in recent history where, on the whole, most Americans were just behind on their preparation for retirement. And it doesn't matter whether most Americans are behind or not. The question is, are you behind? Are you on pace? What is your confidence level on your readiness for retirement? What's retirement going to look like? Are you going to be able to spend what you need to spend and do the things you hope for and that you've been envisioning? And if you're not, then something needs to adjust within that plan. And your certified financial planner can help you talk through the trade-offs. What are the levers that you can pull to drive the probability of success up? One of those levers is save more. If you have the cash flow, if you can free up the money on a regular basis to be able to funnel it into growth-oriented investments, then having now in the late years of your working career the ability to, you're allowed to contribute more, that is fantastic, and it may be necessary. So I guess I would just ask the question, is it clear for you? Do you know where you stand relative to your goal? And that's the first thing to get figured out. And if it's high fives, yes, we're on pace, that's great. Celebrate that. But if you're behind, just know this catch-up contribution is for you.
Yeah. Absolutely. That is the right question. And then finally, sixth area to your financial life, everyone's financial life, is estate planning. And I think the catch-up contribution, the super catch-up, could impact your estate planning in two ways. One, help you build that estate. And so, again, you want to be cognizant of, well, should that be pre-tax? Should that be Roth? What sort of legacy are we on track to leave if we are on track for retirement? And then, have some intentionality to that. And then second is, what if about this time, 60, 61, 62, 63, you might be receiving an inheritance or have one coming, and the idea is, could you feather some of those inheritance dollars into your 401k by taking advantage of this super catch-up contribution? So the big idea with the super catch-up or any financial decision, take a look at how it impacts all six areas of your financial life. That's how you know it's going to be a great choice. Work with your CFP on that. That's all the time we have for today. On behalf of Kevin Corhorn, Josh Gregory, myself, and all of us at KFG, have a great weekend. We'll see you next Saturday for the Wise Money Show with Corhorn Financial Group.
Securities offered through Silver Oak Securities, member FINRA/SIPC. Advisory services offered through KFG Wealth Management, LLC. Doing business as Corhorn Financial Group. KFG Wealth Management, LLC and Silver Oak Securities Incorporated companies are unaffiliated.